Can it really be true that we're all wrong about sim racing? I'm wrong about sim racing, you're wrong about sim racing, all your favourite YouTubers are wrong about sim racing. Well, let me put it to you, we can't all be right. And I'm going to say something in this video really soon that's going to sound very controversial. But I honestly think by the end of this video, everyone is going to partially at least agree with me. So here's a controversial statement. I think the term sim racing is no longer really fit for purpose, and I actually think it's unhelpful. And I think when I say the word sim racing, there's a good chance that I'm thinking something completely different to you, or at least a big portion of the people that are watching this video. And if you were sitting next to someone in the cinema watching this video and you turned around to that person, they'd probably have a different idea of what sim racing means to you. So what's going on here? So sim racing is a niche. It's still a small hobby in the scale of things. It's still in the stage of growing. It's not mainstream. The closest thing we have to being mainstream is probably stuff like the Gran Turismo movie and Max Verstappen doing sim racing. Apart from that, we're still like a crazy, crazy, crazy niche. But we're a very detailed and very passionate niche, and there are some incredible people and companies in the space doing insane things. So you're starting to see where I'm going here. Because what we understand to be sim racing, forget the two words sim racing, but what we understand to be sim racing is actually now a massive spectrum of things, and some of these things are in conflict with each other. So let me start to explain. On one end of the spectrum, you have, and I think it's best represented by sim racing esports, you have this idea that sim racing is about the ultimate exploitation of getting a virtual car around a virtual track as fast as possible. It's about, in that realization of it in an esports sense, exploiting track limits, exploiting setups. It's not about realism. Like, realism can be sacrificed at the altar of speed and performance and time. So you have sim racing there, represented by esports at this end of the spectrum. But just before that, just before you go into all of the grey areas about, what we saw Team Redline do recently with the tyre pressures and turning down your graphic settings so, fog is no longer an issue in a sim. Just a step back from that, you still have the kind of sim racing puritans from a sense of sim racing is about racing. And I used to be 100% firmly in this camp when I was streaming Gran Turismo day in, day out on this channel, racing in, top split daily races day in, day out. That was all about the racing. That would be me racing on originally a THRUSTMASTER T150, then a Fanatec CSLE, and then stuff like Logitech G Pro and everything besides. And it's all about the racing. I could do a race and be silent because it was about wheel to wheel. It was about me trying to overtake people, me outwitting people, things coming down to the last lap. Think of like a Gran Turismo daily race C, 10-lap race at Dragon Trail Seaside, and then the last lap it comes down to Death Chicane and the pressure's on. That kind of like Puritan level sim racing. So I was very firmly in that world. I cared about the racing. It wasn't a problem for me to drive VGT cars, Vision Gran Turismo cars. It wasn't a problem for me that Gran Turismo is not the most realistic sim. It was giving me that core addictive sensation and rush of wheel-to-wheel racing, sim racing. And probably when I was there, my perspective, especially before I started becoming like a big sim racing YouTuber like I am now, but my perspective then was like, oh, I thought the rest of the world thinks like me, as we often do. But I've realised as this sim racing channel has grown and grown, I speak to so many of you at events and online, that there's a much wider spectrum. So let's zoom on over to the other side of the spectrum. Okay, so we've got esports and then kind of like Puritan racing. But then also under this banner of sim racing, we have the ultra immersion people. The people who want, in fact, even beyond that, I'm going to go one step before. You have the people that want ultra emotion, which is different. You want people who they go out and get these 6DOF motion rigs, and they're going to have the seat belts, and they're going to have the most powerful wheelbases because they want to feel emotion. They're the people that are really passionate about driving the classic racing cars, like the monster racing cars back in the day, even like 20 years ago when it was all proper racing and it's not over homogulated now. Those people want emotion. I would think it's fair to say, don't care too much about trying to lap within, do 10 laps within 1/10. When I was doing Gran Turismo, day in, day out, I wanted to lap every lap within 1/10. I wanted to reduce as many variables as possible. I wasn't interested in ray tracing or anything like that. I just wanted to have the track in a abstract realization of it and just trying to be as fast as I can. When we go over here to the emotion, people want to be moved by the car they're driving. They want to have an emotional experience. They want it to feel raw, feel rough, feel ultra powerful, feel almost uncontrollable, feel maybe brutally difficult, feel brutally loud, feel loads of vibrations and motion. And that's fine. And then you go a step maybe back from that. So, already we can see at two ends of the spectrum, maybe you've got like esports. They're not interested in motion. Let's be real. Like, this is the elephant in the room, but I'll just say it. They're not interested in motion. They're not even interested in stuff like VR because, again, VR adds a variable to them. They want to be the fastest they can. And at this end of the spectrum, you've got the people who want that real emotive experience. For example, maybe driving a Group C Le Mans car at Le Mans down the Mulsanne, 5 a.m., sun's coming up in VR kind of thing. Not in a multiplayer lobby, not racing, not looking at the stopwatch or the delta, but just experiencing it. Then you come back, then you want people who want full immersion. So these, I would say, are people, maybe they're running the motion sims a bit lower down. They want that kind of, they want to be immersed in it, not maybe on an emotive sense, but they want to be immersed in it. Then you come maybe one step further and you have people who want ultra realism. So they want the most realistic driving experience in sim racing. So that's the most accurate sounds, the most accurate kind of interiors of the cars, only driving in cockpit view, like definitely no third person driving allowed here. Whereas esports drivers, sorry to break it to you, but a lot of esports drivers in Gran Turismo drive in third person, like world champions drive in third person because it's quicker sometimes. To exploit the track limits that way. You can see all the four wheels of your car and you can get a pixel the right side of the white line. That ain't going to cut it for these realistic people. There's already a broad spectrum. So what does this mean? Let's get into it. Before that, big thanks, by the way, to GT Omega, who sponsored this video. So actually, whether you want something ultra emotive or ultra performance, a GT Omega sim racing rig should give you the basis to do that. So go check out all the rigs at www.gtomega.com and use my code KIRETH5 for an extra 5% off discount. Big thanks to GT Omega for sponsoring another video. So what does this mean then? What does this mean? Well, the term sim racing, it covers too much now. And, this is sim side, kind of, and this is racing side. And I was having an interesting discussion with some esports drivers about like Mario Kart. And if you're competitive enough, Mario Kart is a racing game that you're going to want to try and exploit and get the fastest lap times and the power-ups and whatever. That have no interest in someone on the sim side. But you can see an esports driver getting into it. Or another example is maybe Trackmania. Trackmania probably really, I've never really spoken about it, but I used to be a big Trackmania player, probably really interests the esports guys because it's a real test of your skill and you really minimize the variables. And I don't know if you're aware of Trackmania, but what the top guys do is insane. Again, not going to interest the sim people. And then when you throw in all these other variables, you can get like a lot of the telemetry coming through now your steering wheel and ABS. There's a big discussion about like, on the SimiCube active pedals about having ABS in the pedals. Does it make you faster? Well, actually, it might be distracting. If you're an esports driver and you just want to hit your threshold and have the visual cues, you might not want the distraction of the ABS coming through the brake pedal. However, again, if you're on the fully sim side, having that real immersion of your brake pedal pulsating like happens in real life when you engage ABS in your car is pretty crazy. Now, from my perspective, having been, and I don't speak about this enough, but it's interesting that a lot of people don't know, but I was karting before I was sim racing. I was doing Club 100 before I was sim racing. I was doing Club 100 and karting videos on this YouTube channel before I was sim racing. And my addiction that I experienced through Gran Turismo online racing, because I like the previous Gran Turismo games, but GT Sport for me is one of my favorite games of all time, if not my favorite game of all time, because it was like pure crack of competition online. And part of that stems from the enjoyment I have in karting when I'm going wheel to wheel. And there are some great videos on this channel and my motorsport channel as well about wheel-to-wheel battling, and you can hear my commentaries of, are we going to send it, are we not going to send it? I love that psychology. I love that underneath the helmet you can be a slightly different personality, or that's not the way to put it. Underneath the helmet, people don't know too much about you, so you can kind of send body signals, and you can send messages through your driving in terms of how aggressive you are, how not aggressive you are, and I really enjoy that. When I've been doing real world driving in terms of driving supercars and Mazda racing, etc., there's a lot of faff involved there that makes me appreciate that you can just get on a sim and actually just set up and get going and experience a good deal of that emotion. For example, if I'm running one of my high-end VR headsets and I'm driving a Ferrari in it, I'm sat in the Ferrari. Like the wheel, I don't know if you've been in VR, but the wheels kind of look real now in VR. When you look in the distance, things can get shimmery and anti-aliasing and all that. But generally speaking, when you look at the wheels in sim racing, they look in VR, they look unbelievably detailed. But something that's not for me is, and I'm pretty sure, but I might be wrong, because again, I used to be very much firmly here, but now I'm kind of like appreciating all the other ends of the spectrum. Something that I think is not for me is bringing all the baggage of real world driving and adding it into sim racing. I'm not convinced by strapping into a 6-point harness in a sim rig. Yes, you're going to get the benefit of seatbelt tensioners, but for me, it's like when you strap into a 6-point harness in a racing car, it's very tight. If you've left your phone in there, your phone's getting all crushed. It's not a nice place to be. You're grateful of it because if you have a crash, it's going to keep you nice and tight. And when I was Mazda racing, in one of my races, a guy barrel rolled his Mazda and probably would have lost his arms if he wasn't in the 6-point harness. It was absolutely crazy. So I'm grateful for that. But I don't need that in sim racing. I'm not going to barrel roll unless we have motion rigs now that are going to allow me to barrel roll, and then you need a 6-point harness. So that's kind of an area on the spectrum that I'm not super into. But I know a lot of people are, because a lot of people like going to a race circuit in real life for a track day, and they love the maintenance of their car, and they love setting up the car. Personally, I'm not crazy about it. I like to understand what different bits of a setup do to a car, but I like to spend the majority of my time driving. So that's an area I don't understand. But that's still under sim racing. There'll be people in sim racing, that's to them, to you maybe, that's what sim racing really is. It's about setting up your car in the most realistic way possible. So let me know what you think of this spectrum of sim racing. Let me know in the comments where you fit on this spectrum. I think it's a really interesting topic that we don't discuss. And I really want to hear from you. There's some more videos around here for thought. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and I'll see you next time.